The Agile Toolkit. Hi, I'm your host, Bob Payne. I'm here at Lean Agile DC 2016 with Tom Piader. So Tom, in your keynote today, you talked about a couple of things. One of them was this idea of getting alignment, creating safety for the people that are frontline, but trying to create alignment in the management teams as you sort of create this lean culture all the way from frontline up to the C-level. What do you? So I know you love sound bites, right? This is your strong suit. So the 15 years of work that you've put in doing this,
Sure.
What are sort of some of the interesting patterns that you've seen over time?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway over the 15 years, as you said, as we're building out this system, is the idea that without the management system itself, the frontline transformation is not sustainable. So we've got to put in place, we've got to replicate the practices that we're putting in place with the frontline all the way up through management. Now we're changing what the focus is. We want our frontline associates focused on problem solving, an empowered environment. We want our management teams focused on how are they providing coaching to those organizations, how are they facilitating a problem solving environment. But then the other big takeaway is that we have to actually change the way that management works in our system. We have to take lean principles and we have to say, what does it mean to be a lean manager in the organization? What does it mean to be a lean coach? What does it mean to be a lean executive? And those are really important questions, and we have to put in place systems that really empower our frontline teams.
Yeah, the other thing that's always impressed me about the implementation that you guys is not only are you replicating the systems up so that you create a model where it's not just something that we're being told to do. People above us and above those people are also doing those things. And you're linking together those layers with data, with a cadence of communication, a cadence of problem solving, coaching, and developing people. That obviously doesn't come all at once. What's the...
Right. It's a lot of times when we see transformations and companies are attempting to do everything all at once and everything, it just crushes under the weight of that transformation. So we've got to say, what are the things that we can do? What are the first steps that we can take to, number one, build a little bit of excitement, build a little bit of credibility inside the organization? I like to call it the model line. Let's create a model line. Let's make it run excellently. Let's make it run really well. And then let's build from there. So we're taking small steps with our management teams. It might be simple things like making the work of management visible, running management huddles, things like that, number one, are visible to the organization, not just to the management team, but to the associates themselves. I think the lean management is a much more efficient management system, but that's the secondary benefit. The primary benefit is that we're modeling those behaviors for the associates, that whether we admit it or not, associates look to their management teams to say, what do they hold important? How am I going to be rated? How am I going to be rewarded for the things that I do? And if the management team's not bought in on the things that we want our associates to be bought in on, the whole thing kind of falls apart. Or at least maybe we can get a little bit of buy-in for a short period of time. I've found in any of the transformations where we're able to make headway with the front line, whether it be an agile transformation or a core lean transformation, without the management team going through that transformation and transforming not just the way they look at the work that's being done, but their daily behaviors, you got maybe 12 to 18 months before the house of cards comes crashing down, just because there won't be support, there won't be ongoing coaching, and we've got to kind of bake it into the way the organization works.
And you've one thing I also know that you tend to build that self-sustaining capability at each layer, the ability to self-bootstrap.
Absolutely. I think one of the worst things that we can do in transformations is to install, and there's a variety of names, the sustainability agents, the permanent change agents, whatever it is that you want to call them. what that allows to happen is that management team views that, well, Lean and Agile, that's something that somebody else does. Instead, we want that to be a part of them. Lean isn't something that you do in addition to your job. It is the job. Problem solving is the job. Coaching resources is the job. So we want to make sure that they own the transformation, not my group, not a coaching organization, not the consultants, but you as the management team for that organization. You are the Lean leaders for that. You are the Agile leaders for that transformation and for that group long term.
Do you get a lot of people from the Agile community confused about the application of Lean management? I certainly know I see that a lot, where people are fundamentally clueless about some of the people systems, the deep level of empowerment, mentoring, lead by example. Those systems that were developed at Toyota, I see a lot of Agile people that are just kind of fundamentally never saw that. They always see the time and motion and the people as cogs in the machine part of Lean, which actually I don't think ever really existed.
Right. It's funny when you think about Lean in general. I like to talk about it from the Toyota 4P model: purpose, process, people, and problem solving. That's what it means to be a Lean organization. And there is a lot of, sometimes I would say, lack of knowledge around what does it mean to be a Lean IT organization, what does it mean to be a Lean product development team. But if we take a look at core principles of Agile, or if we take a look at things like when people are talking about Kanban, these are things that have existed in the Lean world for 50 plus years inside of Toyota. Even if we think of really new stuff, DevOps, and this idea of continuous delivery, that was conceived upon the notion of SMED, or single minute exchange of die and tact time. What's the pace of delivery of value to our customers? So I do get that there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding, but the great thing is a lot of times when people are talking, when they have a great Agile culture, it fits really, really well with the Lean culture, and vice versa, because we're talking about engaged teams, empowered teams, problem solving, using process as baseline for continuous improvement, not as a stick to beat people with. We're talking about managers who are at the place where work happens, what we would call the Gemba, coaching on an everyday basis, visual management systems. So there's a lot of overlap and there's a lot of interplay. What I think Lean will give Agile teams that sometimes might be overlooked, not in all cases, but in some cases, is what is that role of management? I think especially in our largest companies, if we say that management doesn't have a role, I think that's a pretty big fallacy. That management is, what we have to do is trust management to set the strategy of what the company is doing, where we want to go, our true north, so to speak, and we have to trust the associates, our frontline workers, to say how we're going to do it. And as long as we can get that trust there on both sides of the equation, things tend to work really well.
Yeah, the idea that trust is the currency of speed.
Right.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
I don't know who to attribute that quote to.
I don't either. Okay. I'll attribute it to Bob Payne.
No, it's not. I've just forgotten who I should attribute it to. And I think on the other side, I think I see a lot of, and I'll use air quotes, Lean implementations that come in and immediately look at waste. Like, what do you see the issue with that, or do you?
I don't necessarily think that there's an issue with saying we want to eliminate waste in our organizations, but I think some people think of, when you say we want to eliminate waste, they equate that to people. I tend to think that we should, in all but the most of limited circumstances, not use things like Agile or Lean to terminate our associates. But this idea that we want to be more efficient, I think, is very, very valid. When we become more efficient in our organizations, it allows us to deliver better value to our customers. In fact, I would term Lean to be, we want to deliver what our customers want, when they want it, no more, no less. We want to delight them. We want to create new experiences for them. And if we can do that in an efficient manner, that allows us to take those resources that were waste and move them to more efficient, more value-added activity. And sometimes that's dollars, sometimes that's people. I love it when we make operations more efficient. We can say, okay, well, we were a perfect example within Agile testing. We can take manual testers that we no longer need because of automation
and have them do exploratory testing or test automation.
So the whole key is, I think of one of the foundations, one of the four P's is people, and I would rephrase that to be respect for people. And that means both giving them exciting, challenging things to work on, valuing them as humans, and then a key component is that through things like Lean or Agile, we're actually solidifying their role inside the company, and we're making sure that we can create a workplace that's viable for them for the long term. I'd much rather take out some of the waste right now, make operations more efficient, shift some people around, rather than 10 years from now realize that, hey, we might not actually be in business soon because we are so incredibly inefficient.
Right. I think one of the things that I sometimes see with Lean implementations is they go to waste first and don't consider value or the customer. So I think if you already know what value is and that you can deliver it, that's the time to really cut waste.
Sometimes in Lean industry we don't do ourselves any favors, because certainly, if you look at or read any of the writings through Toyota's history and Taiichi Ohno and otherwise, there is a tremendous focus on this idea of waste. But what sometimes we're missing in the interpretation is part of that waste view is waste of human intellect, human talent. So it's
something that he and Deming concentrated on. That people were an extraordinarily valuable part of their system.
I love the term automation that they use, meaning automation with human intellect, human intervention, to say, no, humans are part of what we do. Humans, we're a people system. Surely we want to become more efficient, but we never want to do that to the detriment of our people. We want to continue to give them more exciting things to work on. We want to continue to give them challenges and problems to solve. And we want to make as secure an environment for them to work in as is possible.
You just published the Lean IT Field Guide. How's that being received? I know you were in a certain category, number one.
It was pretty cool. Amazon had us as the number one new release in quality control for a while. Why they classified it as quality control?
But thank you.
No idea.
We're number one.
It's not actually a book about quality control per se, but it was received quite well. When we wrote it, we were a little concerned because it's a little bit more prescriptive than we would like, but we did that on purpose. Number one, we did it to be a little bit provocative, to say, okay, here are some steps you can take on your transformation. But really the reason why we put that prescription in there is my co-author Mike Orzen and I both had the same phenomenon, me inside industry and people coming to visit us at Nationwide, and him as an industry consultant. People were asking the same question. Gone to the seminars, I've read the books, I still don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. Like, what do I actually do first on this Lean transformation or this Agile transformation or this DevOps transformation? So we decided to create a book that was geared towards people that are struggling to say, what do I do first? And it really focuses on how do we start to transform the frontline system and the management system. It's a kind of a one-trick pony. I'm going to keep coming back to the management system, that one of the reasons why so many transformations fail is because we're just simply not changing the behaviors of our management teams, and we really have to focus on that. So the book hits on those concepts, and it's done well. It was received better than I had even expected, so it was a great experience.
Well, I think that gets, to a certain extent, Scrum tried to do this, and I certainly hope that none of your readers fall into this trap. I know they will. They'll start the practices, and then they won't continuously improve their way out of the practices that were originally perceived or prescribed.
I mean, that's the key, right? Is we can, as consultants or coaches or whatever, we can give people, we can teach them to ride a bike, but at a certain point in time, the rider has to continue to get better and better, and maybe move up to different types of practices, different types of tools, and make sure that we're really have a principles-based, philosophy-based implementation. But the key is, I don't think, while I would agree that you never want to base an entire transformation on tools or practices or techniques, I've yet to see a successful transformation that didn't utilize some tools to get started,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
To
And
start
some
that learning
prescriptions.
process,
Yeah.
right.
Just do it this way, and then we'll see if it works. And if it doesn't,
That's a great point. Is this idea of behavior-driven transformation? It's sometimes is easier for companies and people to act your way into thinking than to think your way into acting. If
Right.
you want people to start stand-up meetings, for instance,
Yep.
don't bring them into a classroom and teach them why we do stand-up meetings. Just start doing stand-up meetings, even if they don't believe in it at first.
Right.
Get them doing it, and over time, I can guarantee you, stand-ups being probably the best example of you just can't imagine not doing them after you've been doing them for 60 days.
right. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate. I always appreciate talking to you.
Sure. And I thank you for the invite to this great conference today. It was fantastic. Love coming out here to DC and working with you guys at Lightspeed.
Super. Thank you.